Alright, welcome back to another video in my game development series with Kivy. I think I am going to progress with the Flappy Bird game tutorial, so this is basically the next step there. Today we're going to be learning how to make these pipes, so the classic pipes in Flappy Bird, and that's sort of the practical example of the lesson that we're going to learn today, which is using text chords, so texture chords to wrap images. It's very similar to what we did in the last video where we wrapped like these cloud images sort of around the background, but this is going to be a little bit different because since we're using the same image and texture for multiple objects, so we've got a bunch of these different pipes here, we can't use the same approach that we did in the last video. So if you don't remember, in the last video we used the UV pause and UV size attributes to wrap the background, and today we're going to achieve something similar, but we'll be using text chords, okay? Text chords is almost the exact same thing, just done a little bit differently, and it allows you to reuse your textures for when you have more than one sort of instantiation of that texture. Okay, so that's what we are going to do. Here's like the base idea. So this little widget right here is the background for my pipe body. So you can see my goal here is actually to put some images on this pipe body, and it should look like that when I'm finished. So what we need to do is figure out the size, the height of my widget. So what's the height of this guy here? And then we need to wrap our pipe body PNG image, which I have. We need to wrap it a certain number of times so that it perfectly fills the entire height of my widget. Basically, you can think of if our height is x pixels of this guy right here, if he's x pixels tall, then we need to make sure that we have x divided by 20 right here. We need x over 20 repeated images of my pipe body PNG. Okay, so that's what we're going to be trying to do using the text chords. We're basically defining how many times we're repeating our image. Okay, now text chords can be a little bit confusing if you're reading the documentation without an example to look at. So I put together something that I think illustrates it pretty well and pretty easily. In my personal opinion, it's easier to see it and then you kind of, you understand it better that way rather than just maybe like a written explanation. But I'll do my best for both right here. Okay, so remember the goal is to repeat our body x over 20 times vertically. All right, so text chords is a collection of 4 points. Actually, they're tuples, but we can write them as just a long list like this. Okay, and the 4 points define basically how many times your texture is redrawn both horizontally and vertically. All right, so if I specified text chords like this, 0, 0, 1, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, that would correspond to an image coming out like this, okay? I basically stretched my image to fill the entire size of my widget. So maybe like this whole thing, that's the size of my widget, and I've just put in my image once and it's totally stretched, but it stretches to fit it, okay? Now each point here has a horizontal and a vertical component, okay? Horizontal, vertical, horizontal, vertical, and horizontal, vertical. Okay, so since I'm repeating once horizontally in this case, basically I'm only showing my image once, the horizontal values are 1 here and 1 over here, okay, for the horizontal points, B and C. And since I'm only showing it or repeating it once vertically, again, this value is 1, so the vertical value for points D and C, the top points, are both 1. Okay, so if that didn't quite make that much sense to you, it's like I said, it's kind of hard for me to explain, but hopefully these other pictures give you a good feel for it. So say I want to repeat my texture 4 times vertically, then I would not change this point. Basically, you're never going to need to change point A, okay, because it always starts at 0. 1, 0 for point B means that, again, I'm only repeating once horizontally, which is good because I only want to repeat vertically. And if I want 4 images vertically, then I just put 4 for my 2 vertical values for points C and D. Okay? And this 1, once again, means that I'm only repeating once along the x-axis. And then you can do some funky things, like say I want to repeat twice horizontally. I'd have to put 2 for my horizontal value for points B and C. You could do some weird things like put 1 here and it would start looking really crazy. So you can play with that if you want. So if I want to repeat twice horizontally, I put 2 for my horizontal values in my points B and C, and then I put 4 if I want to repeat 4 times again vertically. Okay, so take some time and look at this, and hopefully it makes sense to you. Okay, so take some time and look at this, and hopefully it makes sense to you. Okay, so take some time and look at this, and when it makes sense to you, you know, you're starting to understand things, you'll probably be thinking, what's the next step? Well, this is basically what we want to do inside of our Flappy Bird game, but instead of 4, this needs to be changing depending on the height of the pipe, and that's going to be exactly x over 20. Okay, so in the code, this 4 and this 4 will basically be x over 20. Alright, now let's go ahead and get to the code since we finished the theory. Sorry, there is one more thing that I skipped over before we get to coding, and that's going to be our pipe geometry. I could have just went straight to coding, but I think this will help you guys understand where I'm going before we do that. So our pipe is going to be one large vertical widget, okay? So the actual pipe widget is going to be the size of this background rectangle here, and then on top of that we're going to draw the top pipe and the bottom pipe. And now the pipe is made up of 4 separate parts. You've got the top pipe body and the top pipe cap, okay? And then you have this gap here. Then you have another cap for the bottom pipe, and then the bottom pipe body. Okay, so there's going to be a couple different variables that we use to sort of set up this geometry. One is going to be the bottom body position, which will be the height where our bottom pipe starts, and then the bottom cap position, which is where the bottom cap starts and the bottom body stops. Then we have this pipe center, and then the top cap position, which is where the top cap will be drawn, and the top body position, which is where the top body will be drawn up to the top of our widget. Okay, so these are kind of unknowns at the start, but we know them because we're going to assign our gap size. The gap size is the height, or sorry, the distance between the top cap and the bottom cap. Okay, so we're going to assign that. I'll say like 60 pixels for my game. And then we know the cap size, which is just the size of our image here for the pipe cap image. It's a PNG I have. And the bottom, let's see, in the pipe center, that needs to be randomly generated, but that will be like sort of assigned at the start. And then we can figure out the rest of these using just some geometry. Okay, and also the bottom body position will always be the height of our floor here. Okay, so that's what we're going to set up. And to do this, we're going to be using the Kivy canvas again, drawing some rectangles. And I'll need to have one rectangle for each part here. So one rectangle for the bottom body, one rectangle for the bottom cap, one rectangle for the top cap, and one rectangle for the top body. Okay, so that's it. Let's get coding. Okay, so here I am in my code that I finished up in the first video, and we're going to go ahead and create the pipe class. So the first thing we need to do is we will create a new Python file called pipe.py. Alright, and we will also create a new Kv file called pipe.kv. So all of our logic and interface for the pipe will be in these 2 files. So the first thing that we'll do is work with pipe.py. The pipe is going to inherit from the Kivy widget class, so from kivy.uix.widget, import widget. Alright, and let's just define it for now. Class pipe widget, and we'll do def init. Make sure you take quargs, and then we'll do super.init quargs. Okay, and now let's just get some basic stuff in here for my pipe in KV. Actually, for now I'll just leave it like this, and I think what I'll do is I'll instantiate a pipe in my main.kv file. So this is where my actual game is running. So I'll go here and I'll just make a pipe, put the size hint none, and let's see, the width of my pipe is going to be the width of the pipe cap here, which is 64 pixels. Alright, so back to main.kv. So size will be 64 in width, and then the height is going to be root.height, so the height of the whole app, minus 96, and this 96 is the height of my floor, okay? And then let me just put a little canvas. The reason why I'm doing this is that when we're working on the pipe, we can see exactly each part as we go. So I'll say canvas.before, let's draw a rectangle with the color, let's see, color, there we go, RGBA. I'll just make a see-through white little background. Okay, pause itself.pause. Alright, so now, right now it doesn't know about the pipe widget, so I need to include pipe.kv. Alright, and for the logic to be understood, we need to from pipe import pipe. Oops, there we go. From pipe, so from pipe right here, import the pipe class. And then that'll sort of read in whatever logic I have here. So if I run it right now, oh, it's gonna be, okay, yeah, so it's stuck at the left of the screen. You can see this sort of white column there, that transparent white column. That's my pipe widget right now. So we're gonna be drawing all inside of here. Let me just make sure that it's moved to the right position. So pause, we'll put this, let's just say at 200 horizontally, and then 96 again, so it's up on the floor, or above the floor. So if I run it, okay, if you guys can see that, maybe I'll make it a little bit darker. That's going to be my pipe. All right, so let's do some drawing. Let's make it a little bit more clearer to see. Okay, so in the pipe widget, we're going to first define all my constants. So remember back in our little diagram here, we need to define gap size, cap size, pipe center, and then top body, top cap, all this good stuff, okay? So let's go ahead and start doing that. I'm going to make all of these properties, like properties from Kivy, like a numeric property, or we're going to be using list property as well, and object property. So I'll say from Kivy.properties, import numeric property. The thing about Kivy properties is whenever you change one of the properties, so if I change like 60 down to 40, anything that relies on that property is automatically like recalculated and readjusted. That's why Kivy properties are so powerful. Okay, so I'll just do numeric property for now, and I'll define gap size to be numeric property 60. Okay, cap size, this is the, don't forget, this is the height of pipe cap.png. So cap size is 20, oh, whoops, numeric property 20. And remember, I'm just getting that from literally my pipe cap PNG picture. You can see it's 20 pixels in height. Okay? Now, pipe center is another one that we need to do. And I'm just going to initialize this to 0. Pipe center is numeric property 0. And whenever we instantiate a new pipe, we're going to have to assign a value to the pipe center property. Okay. Now we need bottom body position, bottom cap position. So I'll say bottom body position is numeric property. I'll just throw 0 for now. And I'm going to copy this a couple times because now we have bottom cap. And then we have top body position and also top cap position. Okay, so there we go. These are our numeric attributes. And just as we did before when we were working with the texture, we need to work with some texture attributes. I'll call this pipe body texture. And this is going to be an object property, so I have to import that. Object property. Object property, just pass it none for now. That'll contain the pipe body texture. And then one more we're going to use is called list property. List property is a new one that we'll be using for the text chords. All right. So all that talking, and now we're actually doing something with it. So I'll say lower pipe text chords is list property, and then you have to put double parentheses here. All right. And I'm going to put 0, 0, 0, 1. It'll actually be just what I had in this first example. I'll put this by default. Okay, so 0, 0, oops, 1, 0, 1, 0, and then I had 1, 1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 0, 1. Okay, there we go. I'll do the same thing for my top pipe text chords. Alright, so now we can basically change how many times the pipe body PNG is drawn in both the lower pipe and the top pipe. Alright, now the next thing to do is we'll instantiate this pipe body texture to actually have something rather than none. So I'll say self.pipe body texture. So whenever my pipe is initialized, we are going to make a new image, and actually I have to import the Kivy image object. So from kivy.uix.image, import image. Okay, so new image. The source is going to be pipe body.png, and I want the texture from that. And now let me reference that again and change the .wrap attribute to be repeat. Okay, so this is basically just setting everything up. I've got all of my variables defined that I want to use. Remember, these positions are going to dictate the geometry of my pictures. And now to actually draw the pictures, we have to work in Kivy. So let's go ahead over to my pipe.kivy file and start working with the canvas. So canvas.before. Like I mentioned before, we're going to have 4 different rectangles. So the first one, this will be for the bottom pipe body. All right. Before I work with this, let me go ahead and define how the top body position relates to the variables that we're given, which are gap size, cap size, and also pipe center. Okay, because I'm going to be using those positions to change the size and position of this rectangle. So we want to make sure that those are correct. Okay, so first off, bottom body position. This should just be wherever the heck, so this is what this is referencing. This is just exactly where our whole widget starts. So this widget right here, okay, so this just needs to be self.pos 0 or 1. There you go. And that's going to be 0 anyway, but just to make sure everything lines up properly, that's the right way to think about it. Okay, bottom cap position. This one's a little bit more tricky. So bottom cap position right here is going to be the pipe center. All right, so pipe center minus the gap size divided by 2. Okay, so this distance here, and then also minus the size of the cap, or the height of the cap. So bottom cap position is self.pipe center. Remember, pipe center was defined right here, and anytime we instantiate the pipe, like we have right here, you're actually going to need to specify a pipe center. So I'll do it right now. I'll just put something, 250. Okay. So pipe center is a given variable. So pipe center minus self.gap size over 2 minus self.cap size. There you go. And we'll just work with the bottom stuff for now. All right. So the size of the bottom pipe body. So the width of the bottom pipe body image is actually going to be exactly the width of the image. Okay, so 48 pixels. So size is 48 for the width, and the height is going to be self.bottom cap position minus self.bottom body position. Okay, so I just defined the height of my bottom body here, and that was by subtracting this from that. Okay, hopefully that makes sense to you. And the position now, we take self.pos 0, so that's basically where my widget is right here, this corner horizontally, and I need to inset it just a little bit, and that difference is the width of the cap minus the width of the body divided by 2, just to push it over that little bit. Okay, so plus, let's see, the width of the cap is 64. 64 minus 48, because 48 is the width of my pipe body. and then divided by 2.0. And let's see, the position here is just self.bottom cap position. Hoofta. Okay, so that's the geometry, that's where we're placing it. And now the texture actually needs to be defined as self.pipe body texture. Remember, the pipe body texture is what we did right here. Okay, so that's the repeating texture. And then texture, or I'll say text chords. So this is where I'm specifying the text chords, which will actually make it repeat as many times as I need. I'll say self.bottom body text chords. Is that what I called it? Oh, what? Lower pipe text chords, my mistake. Self.lower pipe text chords. Okay, so right now I haven't actually changed these to update with the height of the pipe, but it should just sort of stretch my image once to fill up the entire space. So if we run my code right now, let's see what happens. There you go. I have my pipe. It's sort of in a weird position, but that's okay. Let's just keep going for now. You can see this is just my image. This is the one image stretched to fit whatever it thinks is the size there. Okay, let's go ahead and make the cap, the lower cap. So this is bottom pipe cap. Size is going to be 64 because that's the width of my pipe cap, right? 64. And the height is self.cap size, which is 20. Position will be self.pos 0, and I don't need to inset it at all, so I don't need this little that difference. And then where it will be on the y-axis is self.bottom cap position. Oops, I had a typo up here. That's supposed to be at bottom body position. There you go. So if I run it, there. Okay, so my bottom pipe is now in the right spot. I had just an error there before, that's how it was hanging up in the air. And now my cap right here is in the right spot, it looks like, but I forgot to put the actual source for the image. So I'll just say pipecap.png. Okay, if I run it, bam, there you go. And you can see it's down here because I specified the pipe center to be somewhere like in this area. So let me go raise my pipe center and we'll see what it looks like. Remember, your pipe center is set when you instantiate it. So I'll put this to 450. And if I run it, boom, okay, it's way up there and my image is super stretched. So now the last thing to do is say, okay, anytime the size of my widget changes, and it'll change basically as soon as you instantiate it. So anytime the size of my pipe widget changes, I want to redraw the texture in my pipe body. Okay, so to do that, you say def on size. Remember, this is back in my pipe, okay, my pipe class. Def on size, and this is automatically called anytime the size of the pipe changes. This is a built-in, or there's a function that I've inherited from the widget object, okay? So def on size. So I need to work with the lower body because that's what's changing when my pipe changes size. So lower body size is self.bottom cap position minus self.bottom body position. Okay, and now I need to change the lower pipe text chords. So I'll say self.lower pipe text chords, and actually I only need to change two different parts of this. I need to change, let's see, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so I need to change the 5th element and the 7th right here. Remember those two, looking back at my diagram right here, that's corresponding to this value and this value. So basically I'm going to do something like change these 1s, which is what it is right now, to something like this 4, but actually that's going to be a little bit different than 4 because that value is going to be, like I said, remember the x over 20 here? Let's see, this x over 20. So x is the lower body size, so lower body size divided by 20 because that's the height of my pipe body, don't forget, right there. Okay, let's see, pipe.high. Okay, and I need to change the 7th one as well. So basically what I've done is I've changed this value and this value, and that's it. And now if I run my app again, you can see, boom, I've got this very nice repeated texture, and it goes all the way up, and then my pipe cap is up there. And I'll show me changing the pipe center again, put it back down to 250, and you can see that no matter what the pipe center is, everything is drawn nicely and it looks scaled, so that's perfect. So now the next thing to do is work on the top, but we've actually like done most of the work now, so the top is going to be a bit easier. I'll start with another rectangle, and this will be the top pipe cap. The size is the same as the bottom pipe cap, right? Oops. Alright, the position is going to be pretty much the same thing, but now where it is vertically is self.top cap position, and we're going to need to define what that is, or define the relationship really. So I'll say top cap position here, and this is going to be self.pipe center plus self.gap size over 2.0, and that's it for this one. I don't need to add the cap size, because the top cap position is basically the bottom of the cap, where I'm drawing the bottom of the cap. So self.pipe center plus self.gap size over 2, and you can see that makes sense because let's see back here, top cap position is, you can see the pipe center plus half of the gap size. Okay, so we've got the top cap position down, and now let's also get the top body position, and that's going to be self.pipe center plus self.gap size over 2, and this is the one where you add self.cap size. Boom. So that's going to be for the pipe. Okay, to finish off the top cap, we need to put the pipe cap as the source again, the pipe cap image. Alright, if I run it, let's see what happens. There you go, my pipe cap is there. We just need the body now. Okay, so one more rectangle to draw the body on there. Size, I'm just going to be looking at the code up here and following along pretty much. 48, because that's the width of my pipe body image. And let's see, the size is bottom, or let's see, the height is going to be self.top. Self.top is going to refer to the top right here of my of the entire pipe widget, so like this white area. So self.top minus self.top body position. Okay, that's going to be the size of my top pipe. So self.top minus self.top body position. Okay, pos will be self.pos 0 plus 64 minus 48 over 2.0. Remember, that's just the horizontal displacement. Okay, and then self.top body position. Top body position is good. We've already defined what that is up here, that relationship. And now texture will be self.pipe body texture again. And then texcoords will be what do I call this? Top pipe texcoords. Boom. If I run it right now, we should see that really stretched out image. Okay, everything's in the right place though. That looks good. We just need to do the same thing where we change the textcoord, those two different variables. Okay, so back here, I'm going to need to work with the top body size, and this is going to be self.top minus self.top body position. Okay, and then just like I did here, changing the textcoords for the lower pipe, I need to say self.top pipe textcoords 5 is top body size over 20. Remember, that's the height of my pipe image. And I'll copy paste and change that 1 to 7. Bam, there you are. And now if I run this, there you go. My top pipe is now stretched out perfectly. The images are repeating exactly until I hit the cap, and that looks really good. I think right now I will make another pipe so that you guys can see what happens if you have more than one pipe. I'll change the pipe center to be something higher up, and I'll move the position over a little bit. And if I run it again, there you see I have my two pipes. So the next step is going to be spotting the pipes to make them move from left to right. And also, once I've got like my bird in there, I'll be working with the collision detection. The collision detection will probably work. I'll do like a quick check if it's inside of if it collides with my entire widget here. And then if it does, I'll see, well, is it between the pipes? Because then it's okay. If not, otherwise the bird has died. Okay, so I think I'll save that for another video. Thank you guys for watching. I hope that was helpful. I hope you guys learned a lot about the text chords and saw a couple examples of how to use them. And until next time.